Namaste. Welcome, beautiful souls. Happy Saturday to you all. All right. I want to dive right back into the card study, the discussion of these three decks that I've been comparing for months now, and complete the Earth suit today. That's my intention. And as I've been sitting here waiting to go live, I'm just sort of thinking about what is next. As I mentioned, I am going to go through the majors, particularly of interest is the compare and contrast with the Mythologia Fennica. So, or here, I do want to do that, and that's definitely part of this. Many of you will be receiving your green wood tarot. I'm not sure when it will be shipped or when that's all coming to a close, but I do want to do a compare and contrast of the Greenwood and the Wildwood Tarot. And I don't think that was sort of on my schedule, but I will be, that's something that I need to do personally, is to sit down and compare and contrast, which I've done a little bit today, and I will do some of that with you when we get to reviewing the page Knight, Queen, and King of Stones. We have looked at some of these cards before, and so that's why I think I can get through 5 cards today. Welcome, Donna, and hello, Dee. Here in the UK, people are still celebrating Bonfire Night. I'm surrounded by light. Wow, that's beautiful. That sounds... in a way, I don't know, I find it really peaceful, and I wish that the commercial aspect of Halloween could get dialed back a lot. Welcome, Mary Beth. So lovely to have you all here. Alrighty, so let's get into this, and so it's going to ship in January, so I likely then will do it starting in January, which makes sense. And that will give me the month of December to complete the discussion of these 3 decks. So that might just work out really well. Where I left off was with the 9 of Pentacles a couple weeks ago. And so today we're going to go 10, Page, Knight, Queen, King. The energy in the Mythologia Fennica, in the suit of stones, particularly, I don't know, some of the cards really lean to the monetary aspect of Pentacles. And a lot of this is getting me to think about the integration, the understanding of Lakshmi, which is a goddess, a Hindu goddess, a goddess that we use in yogic practices to learn and understand about the concept of abundance. I do appreciate that Susanna writes. It's quite well written in this regard. The these names, Puritayanan challenges your relationship towards fortune and money. Do you have enough, or are you hoarding more and more over your own needs? And do you know how to share your wealth with others, or do you keep it all to yourself? So while the beginning of the writing really focuses on this particular beetle as a, I don't think omen's the right word, but let's use that one, of great fortune, the writing sort of comes full circle to understand that the more we give, the more we have, and something with that relationship. I do want to read a little bit about the mythology of this particular beetle. We go back to the labyrinth here, and like in the Wildwood, in the Greenwood, we have the home card in the Ten of Stones. And I really feel the arrival the arrival of the completion of the journey, so to speak. That this is where we come to at the end of the journey. And in the writings of all of these cards, rather than a sense of the wheel, I really feel like there's a sense of landing in these cards. So when I'm working with tens, I'm always aware of impending change, and sometimes that feels kind of gloomy. And yet, the importance of landing, arriving, and being in the 10, I don't think is to be glossed through. And sometimes I think we do that. We don't fully put our feet down and land in endings. Isn't there a rush to get on to the next thing rather than enjoying the fullness of the 10 and just being in it? I'm also, what's coming to mind here is in the Herb Crafter Tarot. So these are the composting cards. The 9s are the ripeness and the fruits. And the 10s are the composting cards, like it's already begun to disintegrate. But here, this feels a little different for me. Like there, particularly in these two cards, there is a sense of landing and being in the 10s. And I think sometimes we need that message. We need this reminder to land. And even in the Waite Smith card, while it certainly is a card of fullness and completion of the journey, there is a sense of going rather than being and landing. And so I like that. When we're working with Golden Dawn decks, which none of these are, the 10 of stones, the 10 of pentacles, doesn't come at the end of the astrological year. It comes at the end of Virgo season. And that's also, now think about this, kind of interesting because, well, we go Virgo, Libra. What was coming to mind was it'd be really cool if the 10 of stones came at the end of Libra season, with Samhain being which is New Year, the pagan New Year in some regards. Sorry, I'm just riffing here. So I really feel a different energy here. This one, I wonder how this feels with the Empress card. So you know that in the Wildwood Tarot, we have the cauldron, and with the yoni, with the feminine energy, and then we have the two, Empress and Green Man, Green Woman, working together. But here, in this card, they're both here welcoming you home. Interesting that the key is over the feminine energy. The Shakti energy. Oh, well, this is good, actually. I'm just going with the Shakti energy rising up here. This is a black snake, and you can't really see the head of the snake in this one. It's white, so I'm feeling like there's a lot to work with in this card. But I am sort of going all over the place, and let's go back to the myth of the Piri TNN. And I apologize to my Finnish friends for pronunciation throughout this series. The Piri TNN was a small creature that was believed to bring money, luck, and success to its owner. They were sort of living good luck charms that looked like bees or door beetles. It was said that a person who owned Piri Tien would never run out of money. To many a mistress of the house, the Piri Tien was an invaluable helper, as it aided with the chores in addition to amassing money and grain for its owners. The creature was kept in an upholstered bottle or tin box, and its owner would feed it with their own spit and blood. We have heard this in other cards here too, that I believe one of the Haltias was cared for and fed in this way. And, here's an example of when you have a deck that is new and full of mythology you aren't familiar with, it takes several go-arounds to really absorb all that you can work with in a deck. And so I think I'm kind of excited about going back to the Wildwood and doing another run around with that alongside the Greenwood when it becomes available. And I did see your note about it not being in the UK for some time. So I will figure all of that out. The Piri Tien was an effective amasser of wealth, and acquiring one could demand great sacrifices and the help of a skilled witch. When this creature, also known as the money devil, became active, it would bring its owner excessive wealth. Now, I don't know how you read that, but that doesn't necessarily seem like a positive energy to me. It always fetched back whatever its owner had given away, but never emptied its victims' purses completely. If the money devil owner's purse became empty, it was said that at least Piri Tien remained. Piri Tien attached to its owner very strongly on the spiritual level and kept on bringing riches no matter what. So it's kind of a cautionary card in that regard as well, too. It feels like a message of be careful what you wish for, and understanding the relationship between giving and receiving feels kind of important here. And this card, there's just so much here in the 10 of Pentacles to work with, no matter what layer, interpretation level you are with. And so especially here with the sort of the rotation of the man and the woman, the circle dance, the coming and going of these two, I don't know. I feel, again, something a little different here. We have found that in a lot of the Mythologia Fennica cards, there is almost a forced association in the conclusion or in the interpretation in the guidebook. At least that's what I feel. And should I go forward and actually use this as a reading deck or more of a single card pull until it becomes more familiar? I feel that it's really important to let a deck like this be its own thing. And maybe if I was working with a card such as this, I would also be more aware of the bees and the bugs and the journey of and the influence of actual creatures around me. Like this might be a symbol that I need to bring more to the forefront. So yeah, it's kind of a unique deck in that regard. 10 of Coins, when I'm looking at the diamond and looking at this card here, the diamond and the wealth, there's a lot of gold, there's wheat, there's fullness, the tree is full of fruit. It's a night scene. It appears that the tree is giving off a lot of energy as well too. It does really feels like a blessing, whereas the Ten of Coins in the Margaret Peterson kind of feels like we have uncovered an understanding, a purpose. And when we look at the diamond as a metaphor as of the treasure, maybe our own truth, it's quite a powerful Ten of Coins. Now, Margaret Peterson writes some interesting things here. She does mention wealth and arrival. And the connection to the Ten of Coins is also mentioned in the Ace of Coins in the second sentence. So I love it when a deck creator does that. So this is not something that happens very often in the Mythologia Fennica, where cards find connections. Sometimes we do with the major arcana, but this is really beautiful, and she does this quite a bit in this deck, where we do find a coming of full circle, and there's lots of connections among the cards in each suit. In the Greenwood Tarot and the Wildwood Tarot, not so much. And so I really appreciate a card such as this. And we have seen the Labyrinth quite a bit in this suit. And when I look at this card, I also can't help but thinking about a couple of the cards in the Marielle Tarot as well. So it also has a very spiritual connotation, and the journeying through the labyrinth and the intention of going through the labyrinth. It's like the diamond has been uncovered or recovered or discovered. And almost it looks like it's now we have found it and we're going to let it go. And it's, it's a bit like that Magic Penny song. I don't know if you know that song. I learned it at church camp about 100 years ago. But it's about giving. It's about giving and the importance of giving. The more we give, the more that we receive. So lots of different kind of feelings in these cards. And I kind of love in this card the solidity and the importance of both divine masculine and feminine standing for this place to which we arrive, land, and find safety, hopefully, and comfort, a place where we can rest at the end. And it almost looks like there's someone in the doorway here with open arms welcoming us as well, too. Sometimes I think we just really need to let a deck tell its own story. And you may or may not be able to weave in everything that you have learned. What about seasons and so forth? Well, stones, pentacles tend to be a winter thing in many different systems. And the sense of abundance and fruitfulness, discovery, I get a lot of different times of year with each of these decks. So that as well might change how you interpret this. And even though, and I know this is problematic in the Wildwood as well too, even though the suit of stones is connected with winter, not every card looks like a winter season. This one here to me looks like the fruitfulness of the abundance of fall. And with the ripeness of let's call them apples, right? So this is going to be most definitely before the final gathering of the crop. Not at the end of winter. So what do you do with that, right? What do you do with that? And I know a lot of you have asked me questions, gone back to some of my Wildwood videos and said, well, it's really hard because it doesn't match up. The season in the pictures doesn't align with the Sabbats, with the weather. So what are we going to do with that? And I agree with you. It's really hard. We just have to, if you like a deck enough, you spend more time with it, you get to know its nuances, and you would just let it be. This particular beetle, Susanna Salo says it's a door beetle. I don't know what that is. Okay, so let's go back and look at the page. And I know we've seen some of these before, but I just kind of wanted to finish off this suit in this way. I looked more at the court cards of the cup suit when we were doing this last time. And in this suit, in the court cards, very earthy, very grounded, rich, landed. I love that the Daughter of Coins here is in a tree pose, which it's a very grounding pose, takes time to develop. And look, we see the treasure here as well too, that she is in the process of understanding. This is so, again, it's kind of weird that the wren is in a mossy scene. It doesn't look anything like winter. But if we look to the same card in the Wildwood Tarot, it is in winter. However, it's the Page of Arrows in the Wildwood Tarot. And arrows is the beginning of the Sabbats at, now I want to get this right, just a second, because both decks do this exactly the same. Okay. Yeah, at Imbolc, February 1st. So both decks begin the journey at February 1st at Imbolc. And you could also say that in February 1st, we may still have snow on the ground. The snow is melting, and so this is sort of a perfect depiction here. But this one, sort of has a different feel to it, energetically, seasonally, and so forth. Anyway, we'll get more to that when I compare the two decks, because they also do something different in the order of presentation. If you look at the colors that Margaret Peterson chose for the court cards, they're very gold and rich and sunny. So we don't see a lot of earth colors. Perhaps the page is the one that has the most in the background. And I kind of sense that these court cards were one of the paintings that were, the canvases were reused again and again, because you can see the green sort of bleeding through in all of these. And then the gold was added on the top. And there's a yoga pose in the sun. And very spiritual energy here. Interestingly, the suit of coins makes, kind of reminds me of the journey in, oh my goodness, 78, Drop 78, Drop M78 that some of you have done in Mindful Tarot. Beginning with the suit of coins rather than ending with the suit of coins. And I think that's a really interesting reflection. If you want to take that in terms of Golden Dawn, is Malkuth the beginning or the ending, or is it a uh, full circle. Hi, Perry. Welcome to you. My pleasure to share and reflect. The forest maiden feels really safe. It feels really safe, and that she is a protector of the forest. And one of the things that Susanna writes about this card is that she urges presence, to be in the moment and to be where you are. And it just feels like a really safe and beautiful card. The Daughter of Coins. I wrote keywords throughout this little guidebook, and while I'm sharing this deck, this is my working copy of the guidebook for the Margaret Peterson Tarot. It's got all kinds of notes written in it, and I wrote Sadak for this one, and that a Sadak is a devotee. I also wondered if it had the feeling of a sadhu as well too, for the Daughter of Coins, one who is completely committed to a path, committed to self-discovery. And in that way, I can feel, I don't know, I just feel the presence of the importance of presence in all of these cards. Daughter of Coins from Margaret Peterson. My mother gave me the gift of trust. My father, vitality, and my brother, boundaries. I spent 4 days in a cave. Through fasting and meditating, I cleared my mind. A rattle filled with crystals helped me understand the memories and the language of my body. I remembered all the forms and shapes I once had. So in a way, it feels like this is a card of rebirth. Rebirth into this world. I am the daughter of the senses and of consciousness. Deeply immersed in the archaeology of my ancestral land, I went many ways. In circles and spirals, I experienced myself through the many layers of my being. I walked through deserts, through inhabited and uninhabited landscapes. Plants nourished me and healed me. My mind became clear and pure like a crystal, right? So we see the crystal again in this card. I am naked and alone, but not lonely. You know, and it feels like a very advanced level of energy. And in a way, the Forest Maiden does the same thing. It's a deep understanding of being. The Wren, in the Wildwood anyway, appears in the Hermit card. And I just want to check in this deck. And I can build a connection there, because the Hermit is about the journey and being. Yeah, so the Wren is in this card as well too. It's almost like the Hermit is opening or journeying into the cave. In this case, the cave takes us into the tree of life. And I wonder what the World card does in this deck. I don't remember. It's the same. So we have this idea of, the Labyrinth is in a different position in the Wildwood, but all of the seasons are represented, and there's a door here. So a very interesting connection between the Hermit and the World card and the function of this one. Again, feeling like a wise one, which perhaps is not how you might interpret a page of naivety, reactivity. But remember, this is the page. If you think about the suit of pentacles and coins as the one that is most integrated, containing all of the elements, then that makes sense. And if I turn this around and say this is the first suit, then it's like we're coming from everything to take everything else apart. Yeah, the keywords, the keywords on any deck, you just sort of need to leave them. I just did a reading, and I'm doing a class earlier on Saturdays, and I just did a reading with Tarot of the She, and sometimes you just need to ignore the keywords and be in the energy of the artwork and all of your experience with a card. Right? So I don't know, I feel like it's a very different energy from this page of Pentacles. However, I'm sure you know that the page's home on the Tree of Life is in Malkut, a very integrated place. So, again, we have lots of choice of what we're going to work with in this card. And then we go to the bear in Mythologia Fennica. And one of the things I love in Susanna's writing about the bear is she mentions that this is one of the words in the richness of the language from that part of the world that has a lot of different names for bear. It feels like something I've heard about Inuit language, where there's about 100 different names for snow. And I think that tells us something about that. I really like working with the energy of knights, especially when I'm doing a reading and the querent is truly seeking. The querent has truly embraced the energy of seeker. They are open to doing deep work and not afraid of what the next step of the journey might reveal. So I appreciate it, I guess that's one way to say it, when knights appear in cards. And I guess that comes from my association with knights as questers. The Grail Knight is the Cup Knight, but also the Knight of Pentacles it's a really powerful card. I think it's not as simple as we tend to interpret it in Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork. It's a very layered and complex card, and I feel it's a card that's been through a lot. This particular pose here, Ardha Matsyendrasana, is if I translate that's half Lord of the Fishes pose, but it's a wonderful yoga posture all of the ringing out postures are so good for us, for digestion, for cleansing, and so forth. And it's a pose that we also see in the Crowley deck. It's the pose that I think it's on the Knight. It's on the same card. Let me get it. Honestly, don't you just love tarot? It's just, there's so many doors to open and connections to find. I don't know that I had ever made this connection. Here we go. Yeah, it's the same card. It's not, Crowley hasn't drawn the Prince of Wands with the same level of the pose. It's still open. It hasn't begun the twist. But this is, I believe, Crowley's sun, solar decan, and this is he himself. So, kind of interesting connection. And it's, can you see there's a like a seal here, an embossed layer. The energy flows. It's really, really rich. And this is a very haunting card. When I saw this version of the Knight of Stones, it's like this is an aspect of self wandering in the lower world. This is this world, the lower world, and yet it's there. It's who we are. It's part of our journey. Yes, yes. So if all of the nights, so when we're looking at the Tree of Life and we're looking at the associations, the affinities of all of the courts, in case you're not getting Dee's comment. So the home of the knights is in Tiferet. And the energy of this heart space is air. And that affinity of the knights helps to make the night of fire and the night of air just full of energy. But it's really can be a challenge for this particular one. And I love the bear as the symbol in that there's a grandness to this animal. There's a greatness to this animal. Not that the wolf isn't great, but I don't see the wolf as a, I don't know. Tell me what you think about contemplation and mindfulness. I think mindfulness might be a word that fits this court very well. The Finnish and Karelian languages have over 200 words for bear, which is a sign of deep reverence toward this king of the forest. The bear was always referred to with some euphemism, for it was believed that uttering its true name would summon it. Speak of the devil, as the saying goes. Bear, Karhu, was actually also a euphemism, which was derived from its rough fur. Its true name was Oto, and it was also known as honeypaw, an apple of the forest, for example. And it's a long description for this card. Most of the cards just fit over 2 pages, but this one goes on to onto a 3rd page. The bear is about amassing strength and becoming whole. The bear's power is strong and awe-inspiring, but also very sensitive. The card refers to spontaneous creativity that comes from the pure joy of expressing oneself. So I don't know where she's making that connection from. You are following your own path without caring what others might think. So in this card, there's a sense of, I know who I am and I know where I am going. Your self-confidence is deep and past experiences have made you strong. You have a thick skin just like a bear, and the opinions of others hold no sway over you. And I feel that, this particular art doesn't really do much for me. But when I think of the Knight of Pentacles in terms of the level of integration, and there's some great Knights of Pentacles out there in the tarot world that and maybe I can bring in a positive aspect of the air element in the mindfulness, the mindful nature of the Knight of Pentacles. Okay, so under here I have the Wildwood Tarot. I just pulled these out because this one actually aligns. So this is King of Stones. This is, oh no, doesn't align. So this one is in the position of King, not Knight. And both of these cards do have a winter scene, which works beautifully. And so when you are studying the Greenwood Tarot, there's a lot of differences between the Wildwood and the Greenwood. So if you know the Wildwood well, I think you can be patient with this deck. But at my first look at the Greenwood, though I loved the artwork, I found it very difficult to work with because everything was changed. I didn't mean to whisk that away so quickly. I did want to read a little bit from Margaret Peterson for that card, but I'm just going to put these ones on the table. And then I'll pull back my Lord of the Fishes pose. So this one, she also writes quite a bit about this card. I have taken off the armor of my forefathers, feeling my way toward the inside. So I was talking about the wringing out nature of this kind of a pose. I have begun to loosen up the hardness of my muscles. Using the way of yogic wisdom, I surrender to my body. My stereotypical world of ideas begins to dissolve. New connections are made at the sacred bone at the end of my spine. Following the way of this power, I feel the soft and the weak. My boundaries are shifting. With respect and awareness, I open myself toward new encounters. I mean, just so much in the layers of this card. Okay, so the Queen. This is just a wonderful card. Queens as protectors and the ones who set the environment of the element. That set the environment of the element. Queens as creators of that environment. So this is the one who nourishes and creates the earth environment around you. So you can look at that as the home, the garden, the earth itself. This is a queen who is comfortable in Malkut, comfortable upon the earth. And like the daughter, there's a sort of a mindful presence to this card. This one does not at all look like Durga or any of the... sorry. I'm looking at the fire page here, and I was going, of course, this is not Durga. Durga is Mother of Flames. Mother of Coins. What is my title here? I don't have a title for her. It just says, Earth I am. My being is defined by growth and decay. My body and my vision are wide awake and present. Life has painted me with fine strokes and woven me into trees, flowers, fruits, plants, animals, and the earth's organism, which brought us all into being. So this is a strong, powerful, Shakti kind of energy. And the Queen of Pentacles, which we've looked at all these cards before in the Mythologia Fennica. So she governed the granaries of Tapiola. Let me go to the conclusion part. She is benevolent and generous and filled with feminine care and love. She is the mistress of the forest and appreciates and respects every living thing. She protects the balance and harmony which manifests clearly in her person, as well as on the inside and outside. Miyaliki takes care of the environment and urges to protect all life. She also knows how to take care of herself and her own body. She is safe, motherly, and balanced. She has a strong connection with nature and surroundings, and she is also strongly grounded and peaceful. This is such an interesting card to study. So those of you that do work with Golden Dawn associations, this is the Cardinal Queen of Capricorn. And that's a very difficult energy to work with in the associated cards, 2, 3, 4 of Pentacles, Devil for major arcana. And what I really feel in this card is a energy of integration of all that it means to be human. Taking the good with the bad, the commercial with the natural, and somehow just having integrated the light and the shadow and being really comfortable in her energy. For me, this is in yogic terms, I would say this, or Ayurvedic terms, this is the sattvic level of kapha. The sattvic level of kapha. And if you're aware of the terms vata and rajas and kapha, they all have shadowy tamasic layers and rajasic layers and sattvic layers. And I feel like this queen is, of course, there is shadow aspects to all of these cards, but in her positive qualities, she is, the sattvic kapha queen. Yeah. We have here an integration of these two. It's funny how the queens seem to be the cards that deviate the least in all decks. It's like all deck creators are somehow able to find and treat queen cards with very similar energy. This is such a peaceful face here. The Queen of Stones in this deck. So there is a really interesting connection with the Queen of Stones in the Wildwood Tarot. I was talking about that Capricorn energy. And I'm just going to get... Now, this, of course, is not a Golden Dawn deck. However, oh my goodness, the more you learn about tarot, the more beautiful weavings you can do. This is I just passed by the 10 of Pentacles in this card, and it's in this deck, and it's equally beautiful compared to the Greenwood, and very, very similar. I think the Greenwood actually is more beautiful in that one. Different art style. Can't really compare, but apples and oranges. Come on. I know you're here. It's always at the bottom. Come on, it's really going to be... Oh, here we go. Okay, so when I found this and thought about this, it's just really made me laugh. So when I look at the Guardian card in the Wildwood, and I think about Capricorn and the Devil, I just find this so interesting, because this to me is it's the same cave, different phase, different time, maybe different era, but this is the skeleton of the bear. It's got the same hand positions as the bear and the Queen of Stones. And it's in the position of Devil, Capricorn. And yet, it is not a golden dawn deck. But the bear here, I think, and we're looking at bones in this one as well, too. It speaks to generations, and, you know, we are the seed of, we were a seed. What do we say? We carry our mother in our, we are all of the women who are in our lineage. And I really like how the paw is gently resting on this bone. It's almost like I don't see that as a meal that the bears have consumed. It's rather a bone. Maybe there was another bear that was killed or died, and these bones have been retrieved in reverence to honor the energy of the ancestors. I'm just going back to reading what Donna wrote. You know, Donna, I still teach. I still teach and use the Waite Smith deck as a basis for all of the teachings, and then everything sort of is an extension of that. And a Tarot de Marseille is just a great way to make historical references with tarot as well. And so, yeah, I agree with you. And doing comparisons and dives like this is, I don't know, I think it's really good to review all that you know and sometimes bring in new connections too. Yeah, so thank you all for your contributions. The King of Pentacles. So I kind of like this card, and I also want to honor Amelia, who gave me this deck, as well as a million other things in that beautiful package she sent me almost a year ago now. And this is part of her husband's name, and so I will always think of Amelia when I see this card. And there is truly a grandness to this card. There is a greatness to the abundance in this card. It feels almost like something that you can't look at. Something you can't look at because it's just too great. And this is a horse that no longer exists. It's like a mythological being. And in this particular, it's not horse, it's a horse that no longer exists, right? How does Mark Ryan describe it? Let me see. I sure hope the new Greenwood Tarot has a better guidebook. Let's say that. The prehistoric horse, common in Europe until about 10,000 BC, was depicted frequently in Paleolithic cave art. The Uffington white horse chalk figure once held a long barrow in its mouth, representing the breath of life and protection of the dead. The 30,000-year-old carving of an unshod hoof is thought to represent both the vulva, the beginning of new life, and the primal footprint that shows the trackway through the forest. So that is a mythological energy. Hello, Saskia. Welcome to you. And I love that the rainbow goes around here. You know, this almost makes me think of the Temperance card when I look at the King of Stones in the Greenwood Tarot. And I apologize if I've mixed up Greenwood and Wildwood in anything that I have said here today or in this series. The horse in the Wildwood feels less so. And you'll note that this is the Knight of Stones, not the King of Stones. So that was something that was switched up in those two decks. Tapio, the King of Pentacles, the leader of Forest Haltias, lord of the woodlands that lived here. Originally, Tapio was the personification of the forest's spirit. He was said to sometimes appear as a mossy bearded man who was as tall as the tallest spruces. And even today, his face can be discerned in the sides of trees. So it sounds very much like a green man energy, which in these decks is in the position of emperor. And I think that is interesting correspondence. Now, usually, oh my God, there's no such thing as usually in tarot, but I was going to say emperor and king of fire, not emperor and king of stones or king of coins or pentacles. So these are all things that we can reflect upon and learn from. And, you know, when we start putting tarot into little boxes, I think, and you can only get there after years and years of studying and playing and reading and reading and reading. And I just want to remind those of you that are beginners and new to the tarot and watching the replay, if you ever do this, it takes a long time to get there, to allow cards to be different things as they need to be. And even if you are reading, you know, with the RWS or your favorite version of this deck, I think you eventually have to come to that place where and be able to allow cards to lean in different directions, depending on your question, situation, and so forth at that time. My note for Father of Coins is Brahmacharya, or redirected energy. And there's a level of restraint that is required here. So if we are to be the king of the forest, if we are to be the king of the earth element, we need to learn how to control our power and not unleash it. It's a conservation of energy. So the concept of brahmacharya is oversimplified to be one of suppressing sexual energy. However, it is one where we learn that if we can manage our energy, we can redirect it in other ways. And my best example for this is, okay, so And I want to apologize too. I haven't been able to get my 2 cameras working on a regular basis, so there's no face here today, but I'm here. So yoga. One of the things that I do when I am working with students that are practicing regularly, teaching yoga, is to learn how to nose breathe. Keep your mouth shut during yoga. I am not one for focusing on a lot of open-mouthed exhale breaths. It is a waste of energy. It doesn't contain energy in the body. Sorry about that. Love having my doggie at my feet when I'm doing this, but beautiful picture window where I am, and yeah, lots of dogs walk by. So brahmacharya, so this containing of energy. If you close your mouth and you learn to contain your energy, right? You contain your breath and you breathe through your nose. Yes, it's harder at the beginning, but it allows you to redirect your energy and it makes you stronger in the end. Now, open-mouthed exhale breathing has a place when we are sad, when we need to release energy, when it's too much. But if you are excessively mouth breathing, you're losing an opportunity to redirect breath. And there's something she writes in here that I just found really clever. Actually, it's very confusing the way she writes it, but I just want to paraphrase this. So, by containing energy, I'm able to do great things. By containing energy, I'm able to do great things. If I fritter away my energy, I'm not able to create and build and be the great king that I am. So there's this awareness. There's a what's that word? Parsimony, right? There's a parsimony here that is, I might not be using that word correctly, but there's an intention to that. Yeah. Now, would I go there if I hadn't have read Margaret Peterson's words and done some thinking about what she wrote? Maybe not, but I think that there's a lot of responsibility in this card. Yeah. Oh, I miss you, Donna. I miss you. And the connections that we had, and when I was doing live readings and you were my moderator, that was just so amazing. Yeah, I know a lot of people disagree with me in certain regards, but that's okay. That's okay. So to be a king of pentacles, to be a father of coins. And one time I told you a story about my friend Bob. Bob is, he's probably retired now, but a contractor and really, really good at his work. So he's really great at working with young members on the crew and helping people, perfect their skill, whether they're a tradesman or they're actually pounding nails, or he's just so good as a mentor, as a guide. He's really responsible too. Like if you're hiring a contractor, it's really expensive to build a house or to build whatever you're building. And he's really great with people. And when Bob comes home, he will help with supper. He's really good with his family, and I laugh. He's the guy that's going to have a tea towel, a dish towel over his shoulder when he's washing the dishes. He's really a great house husband as well. And I think of King of Pentacles. King of Pentacles in there, and I've talked about the higher frequency of a lot of these quartz today, is very amazing, really, honestly. It's a lot of responsibility that a father of coins bears, that this great king of the land carries. Yeah, so hats off to him. Them. Okay, so that's a wrap for today. And next Saturday, can't say exactly where I'm going to go, but I will be returning to. Now, we have talked about some of the major arcana in this deck. I've brought it to the table when these cards have been mentioned in the minors, because they are mentioned in a lot of the minor arcana. So we have looked at some of these, but I'm going to go through the 22 majors in these 3 decks and hopefully weave together some stories for you through the month of December. Anyway, wow, look at that world card. It's just beautiful. Okay, so I want to wish you a lovely rest of your weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and blessings and much love to all of you. Take good care. Namaste.